Hello and welcome to the 5 Minute Call, the podcast that takes a deep dive into the stories of the people that make theatre happen.
Today we're talking to Alice Afflick-Mensah, a highly accomplished sound engineer whose studies in classical music eventually led her to her current role as head of sound for Hamilton in the West End.
Alice shares her journey from work experience at Hairspray to managing the live mixes for one of the biggest shows in the world.
Join us as she discusses the emotional connection with performers, managing performance anxiety, and her passion for DJing.
Members of the company, this is your 5-minute call. All beginners, please make your way to the stage. This is your 5-minute call, your 5-minute call.
Alice, welcome to the 5 Minute Call. Thank you so much for joining us. We're very excited to have you here.
This is very exciting and nerve-wracking, but exciting.
We'll try and be very gentle. Will you tell us your story and how you got to be working as you are in theatre?
Yeah, I can. It's a random one. I didn't study sound. I studied classical music and music technology.
Ooh, very cool.
At uni. And my dream was to be like have a studio, be, a studio engineer and that kind of stuff. And I remember my professor kind of saying, "You're going to make tea for years." And I was just like, no, I don't want to do that. And I had a friend of a friend that was a sound engineer at the Shaftesbury on Hairspray. And she offered work experience. And at the time I was just a bit like, what is that? What is being a sound engineer backstage? It just didn't mean anything to me. It wasn't anything that I ever exercised. I never went to any shows. It wasn't a space or an environment that I felt was made for me. So yeah, I did work experience at Hairspray for 3 days. And then they asked me to dep. Yeah. And then the show was going to close. I think they had like 3 months left and they asked me to be their number 3. And then I kind of just started sound stuff. Yeah. And it's been now over 13 years of doing sound.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
A very unusually direct route in.
Yeah. It was very quick. I finished uni. I had work experience. I got a job and then kind of found my way around the West End.
So take us back just a little bit further. Where did the dream of being in a studio, having your studio come from?
I've always loved music. I'm kind of obsessed. Not kind of, I am obsessed with music. I feel like that's the thing that I've always understood. And it feels like there's like a very comfortable relationship with music and being in and around music. And so from a very young age, I played the clarinet. And I mean, fast forward to now, I think I would say, as you know, that I'm probably dyslexic. And at the time I didn't know that. I just thought I was just a bit stupid and I just couldn't get it. And everyone else knew the thing and I didn't know the thing. However, music and reading music and playing my clarinet and listening to music and anything to do with music was my thing. And so it's kind of always been hand in hand. I've always been in that world. And then I guess you kind of have to start deciding what life looks like at college, which is terrifying when you think about it now because you don't know what you want to do. Mm-hmm. I think it was just that. It was just like, I think this is what I want to do now. I want to be in a studio because I'm not going to play in an orchestra. I was too scared to.
Did you play in orchestras at school?
Yes, but I had, again, I didn't have the language for it, but I had like crippling anxiety about performing. And I can tell you for free that I'm not a performer. And I don't want to be. I'm very, very happy making a lot of noise in the dark. That's where I'm comfortable. So yeah, I think it was just something that I just kind of went, that sounds like fun and music-y. So yeah, that was it. I don't think there was like a real dream to have a studio, work in a studio. And yeah, maybe I kind of fantasize and glamorize that in a way that, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it came from. It's weird. Random.
And was doing tech at uni, was that your first experience of doing that side of it? Had you done any at school?
I had done a bit in college, or sixth form.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was fun to kind of see or know that you could explore music in another way. Because before that point, it was just classical music and then music I was listening to at home, and my clarinet. So to know that I could manipulate sound in a different way. I guess actually that is the answer. I think it was the introduction to it in college and kind of going, oh, maybe there are other avenues. So yeah, I did that and then kind of followed through at uni for 3 years.
What attracted you to classical to begin with? Was it just like you were having, like kids have lessons and typically they're classical? Was it that kind of route? Was there something more?
I think I didn't choose the clarinet.
Right.
I love my clarinet, but I didn't choose it. My parents, my dad in particular, was the person that kind of like, it's funny because I grew up in an African household, and so it was very like traditional in that like you become a lawyer and you become a doctor and that's, blah, blah, blah. And so I think thankfully my dad was just a bit like, okay, music is the thing that makes Alice happy. So let's get her playing an instrument. And so with the clarinet comes classical music. I think that's where it came from. And so, yeah, I think I just understood it. And it fed my soul. This is the only way I can say it without it sounding really wanky.
No.
It fed my soul.
No, I think you'll probably speak to a lot of other people's experience there as well. That's, what draws us all in, I think.
Yeah. And it's funny because with my background, classical music isn't, I didn't grow up listening to that at home. But I'm really glad that I did because it plays a massive part in what I do now as an engineer, as a front of house mixer. So yeah, I love that I have that little.
Yeah, it must be a huge advantage to you to have that understanding,
100%,
technical understanding of music as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So you've been in theatre since Hairspray?
2009.
Right, okay.
I'm old.
You are not. Don't even start. Have you thought about or had any experience of doing sound for classical venues?
No. I think once I started sound in theatre, it kind of just, that's where my focus was for ages. And actually I did have a rude awakening after Hairspray because I just thought you just kind of just get work. But it was quiet for a bit. And I think my aim was to just continue finding work. And so I did. And I depped everywhere and was, literally everywhere for a really long time. So there was no time or thought about, I don't know, doing anything else.
What it was, it was what came to you. Yeah.
It's kind of just, and it's quite fast paced as well. So you kind of just say yes to work and you do the work and then, you're referred to other shows and you do the thing. And so you just keep going. And I've been doing that for 13 years. It's crazy when I think about it. It doesn't feel like it, but yeah.
It goes really fast.
Really, really quick.
Yeah.
It's exciting, mate.
Yeah.
So I already have questions about depping in sound, but can we take a step back for a minute? Can you describe to us what your role as front of house mixer, is that what we call you?
So my role right now? Okay, so I am the head of sound on Hamilton. It still makes me giggle to say that. That's so lovely.
What a title, though. How exciting is that?
I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Yeah. I'm not comfortable with saying it out loud just yet, but that is the role.
But you've been saying it since when?
I've been having to say it since 20. Oh God, I think it's been just over a year now.
Okay.
I think. So yes, I am the head of sound at Hamilton. And so I mix the show about 3 or 4 times a week. And creatively, that is the most that I do in terms of the show. But on my day to day, I'm doing admin, I'm fighting fires here, there and everywhere.
Okay.
And giving notes and taking care of the pit, the band. It can be quite fast-paced backstage in terms of things going wrong very quickly. And so you have to kind of manage people and manage how you're going to deal with a really sticky situation. And that's basically it,
Well, we're going to need some more detail.
Basically it. But those things are so full of...
Start with mixing the show.
Okay.
Because that's huge.
Oh, yeah, it's huge. It is. Mixing Hamilton is what's the right word for it? It's exciting, it's scary, it's challenging, it's quick. And I love it. Yeah. You have to really be on to do it. There's no time to kind of coast on it at all. And that's what I love about it. And so when you're mixing the same thing 4 times a week, with a show like this, you just can't get bored of it because it's an exciting show, and the mix is also really exciting.
So talk to us about that. Pretend
how I mix the show.
We are not in the theatre world at all.
Yeah.
What is mixing the show?
Okay. Wow. Okay. How would I describe how I mix it? So in theatre, when you're mixing a live show, and you have multiple people on stage, you've got a bank of faders in front of you, and you are putting the faders up and down while people speak. You don't just put faders in and that's it. And so you really have to know the show. You have to memorize the show, which I do. And you are also doing that and managing the band as well. So you don't have the same people in the pit every show. So that means that the show will be slightly different. And so you'll have to kind of adjust to that as well.
And you're creating what the audience hears.
Yes, in a sense. I think if you're going to get a bit deeper, for me personally, when it comes to mixing, you also have a connection with the people on the stage. The moment someone comes on stage, I know I can almost feel their energy. I know what they're going to give me. And so I know how I can aid that. And so if they're feeling pretty low, just emotionally, I know that they're probably going to give me more of a somber kind of energy, which means that they're probably going to need more strings, or they're probably going to need more help level-wise. Wow. If they're really excited, they're probably going to give me loads, which means that I need to pull back. Yeah. And so it is kind of like an energy kind of conversation you're having with the whole cast. And I know that I'm quite an empath anyway, so I really do feel that energy, so I know exactly what I'm going to get. And it's the same with the players in the pit as well. It's funny to know when someone downstairs is playing the strings, for example, and they're in a bad mood, or they're really happy and they're feeling really good about it. It's such a tiny, tiny, tiny thing, but you start to really pick up on that kind of stuff. So it's not just about throwing faders in, it is also about quickly reacting to what you're getting from the musicians and from the cast. So yeah, it's quite exhausting actually.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Cool.
I feel like I've just rambled a bit, but yeah, that's kind of what's happening.
Yeah.
So it's not, you're putting faders in, but you're also kind of reacting to what you're getting. And and as well, for me, in my position, I'm also looking at what someone isn't doing right. And so I'm thinking, okay, I have to note that person tomorrow. And I'm also thinking about admin. Someone's mic's now broken. Are we going to stop the show? Is that a show stop situation? Can we, so you're thinking about 101 things, and also throwing faders in and making sure that it all sounds good and the show goes on. Does that make
love
this.
sense? Yeah.
It
Absolutely.
makes sense, but it's mind-boggling.
I know.
Yeah.
It's actually quite hard, really quite hard to comprehend quite the extent of what you do. Because there is, it's not just the components that people see on the surface, but I love the connection that you have.
Yeah.
And the ability to just go, like, I can't even see what they're doing. I can hear that somebody is playing something different and responding. I think it's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so many questions. Do you think your background then in classical music has helped understand how the music is being played and then how to then represent that for the audience?
100%. Yeah. For me, whenever I go and see a show or I sit with other people at the sound desk, for me personally, I can really tell someone who is musically trained in any way or not. And that isn't a good or bad thing at all. That is just to say you can just really tell, because you can hear what a show might need. You can see what needs to be boosted or what needs to be brought back. Yes. The answer is yes. Yeah. It's such a tiny thing, but yeah, you really can. And actually, I remember a show where Burr does a number called Wait For It, which is Lynn's favourite song, which is terrifying because it's such a hard song to mix. And he was having a show where, for me personally, it was great, but I think he was feeling quite tired. And by the end of the number, you really have to make it like quite big and in your face. And he came and found me in an interval and he was like, whatever you did out there, thank you, because I was not in the mood for that show. And he was like, it felt like a physical pull. He was like, I kind of like pulled him out of whatever he was feeling. And he was just like, I felt like I just had to go. And I was like, that's really cool. I love that I'm able to assist in that way just by volume and music and instruments and feeling.
So can you choose what elements you want to give somebody then?
100%, yeah.
And how often do you find yourself giving somebody something else or just
the whole time?
So every show is completely different?
Yeah, the whole time.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, because the show will start.
Yeah.
And you have a combination of people in the pit and you hear how they start the show. And then you go, okay, so this is what we're going to do. And the whole time I'm mixing, what I do, and I think the reason why I love music so much is that I can feel it all. And it's just so funny whenever I say it, it makes me kind of cringe just a little bit because it can sound a bit wanky, but when I'm mixing, you want to pull it all apart. You want to hear every single instrument in the pit and you want to hear them on stage, and then you want to put it all together and then go, can I hear everything? And how does that make me feel? And you're doing that with every single number. And I think that's what makes the audience feel something when they're watching a show. And I think it's really, really cool that they have no idea how much we can manipulate their emotions.
Oh, massively. Oh, I have a newfound appreciation for this. I mean, this is so cool.
Yeah.
You mentioned Wait For It is quite a hard mix. What does it mean if something's like a hard mix? Is it just there's general complexity around what you have to give?
Yeah. I mean, like, in terms of where you're putting faders, it's actually quite a nice flow. However, it's Lynn's favourite song, first of all.
Pressure.
Yeah. So there's pressure. But what you're trying to do with that song is, well, first of all, it's the first time that you see Burr in a different light. And he lets you in. And he's trying to get you to understand why he is the way he is. And so that's how you want to start the song. You want to go, oh my God, he's so annoying. But wait, he might have another side to him. Fine, I'll listen. It's how you want to start the song. And there's 3 stages to it. So he starts off quite like insular and he's kind of I don't know, whenever I mix, I really visualize how the relationship with that person could be like. So I could imagine him going, Alice, can we have a chat? And him kind of starting to open up. So the song kind of starts off quite small, quite insular. And then you have the first chorus, which you want to feel something, but you don't want it to be too big because the last chorus has to be huge. But the first chorus has to be big enough, but it doesn't want to be too big. And it's really tough when you don't know how much the band are going to give you and how much the ensemble are going to give you. And if you go too big too soon, it means that once you get to the last chorus, there's nowhere to go, and so there's no impact, and so they've just done a song. And so it's so specific.
Yeah.
But when you get it, it's such a euphoric feeling.
It sounds kind of like the desk is almost like your instrument.
You're not the first person to say that.
Because like when we perform, there's obviously, you have to give different energies. You've got to give highs and you've got to give lows, because it's what you give a little to the audience and you pull it back, and then you give them something slight and you just keep them hanging on, and then you pull it back, and then you give them more. And it very much sounds like you're doing the same thing, but this is your one instrument that just so happens to control essentially the sound of many others. But
it's literally that. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. A friend of mine had said the same thing. And I never thought of it that way. And I just thought, it is our instrument.
How many people do you have in the sound department working on any one show?
There's 4 of us in the department, and we really only need 2 people backstage. But there are 4 of us in it, and we are all female, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Unbelievably cool.
Yeah, that makes me very, very happy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Is that by design, by just general process?
Yeah, I kind of inherited the team that we already had. And it was mostly women anyway, which was great. So yeah, once my deputy left, you just kind of go through the interview process, and Anne, who's my number 2, she really, really, really shone for me, and I just thought this is the person that I need to have in my department. And so yeah, to kind of like stand back and just like see these women just kill it, it makes me so happy. Yeah, I love it so much.
How do you interview for a sound engineer?
I to be honest, I think that the way I interview and the way I operate as an HOD is so unconventional. I think I come from a place of openness and honesty, and I really respect when people can show their vulnerable side. And so when I interview, I ask questions like, what do you think your weaknesses are? Or what do you think you can work on? I'm not really interested about what you think you're great at, because I think people think that's what you want me to hear, and that's fine. But I want to know what makes you feel uncomfortable, because that thing is the thing that we can work on, which will make you better. Yeah. So I kind of go from that kind of angle, and I just want to know who they are.
Is it just like a straight interview, or is there like an audition process where they have to do any practical stuff?
No, it's usually me and our associate sound designer. And yeah, we just have a chat, and he's great as well. He's quite similar to me. He likes to just have a chat, kind of get to know the person, get them to feel really comfortable. I don't think that in an interview, for me personally, there's anything you can really say that's wrong, unless it's like politically like
sure.
not okay. I really want to get to know that person, because we have to work so closely together, and you want to work with people that come with different strengths to make the thing happen, because at the end of the day, the show must go on. And so if we are all very different, that's great, but can we work together, and why? So that's my angle always.
This episode is sponsored by Vocalitea, a specially formulated blend of tea for professional voice users. Each ingredient has been carefully selected to help you soothe and take care of your voice. Vocalitea is naturally caffeine-free, suitable for vegans, and does not contain any artificial flavours or colours. Vocalitea is the secret to vocal clarity in a cup.
And you mentioned you need 2 of you at any given time.
Backstage,
we know what you're doing. What do you, so you plus 2?
Me plus 2.
You plus 2.
Yeah.
So what are the other 2 doing?
So we have a stage plot and we have a rack plot. The stage plot is kind of like the mic runner kind of plot where you are running around backstage basically doing cues. For us, it's quite quiet backstage, but it is about making sure, for example, the king has the crown on the right way round, because he has a mic in the crown, which no one can see.
Right.
And so if he has it on backwards, which has not happened,
Not good.
that does mess with the sound. So it's just stuff like that. It's about running around and doing cues, and while the person downstairs doing the rack plot is monitoring the mics to make sure that mics aren't broken, they aren't sweated out, and if they are, to deal with it very quickly. Yeah.
So I think there's a couple of really interesting little nuggets in here. Okay, so if, let's say the crown does go on backwards, not that it has or will ever happen.
Nope.
What's the fix?
Not on Alice's watch.
Yeah, if something like that happens, the king has a spare ear hanger.
Right.
Yeah, it isn't the best thing if that happens. Oh, I've said it now. But there is a backup. And so,
Sure.
and for most shows, principals usually have 2 mics on.
Right.
And so it means that you do have like a plan B. But it also means that the next time the king goes on, he has the crown on the right way around.
Sure, yeah, no, of course. Do you find yourself, I mean, naturally you would, but how much then do you have to modify in what you're mixing to accommodate for that? Because I'm assuming there's going to be subtle differences because of the positioning of the microphone and that kind of thing.
And that's the thing with mixing as well, is that you have to react very quickly. You have to be very reactive with what's going on. And so if something like that happens, I do have to switch to his ear hanger, which might mean that now I have to compensate for that. It might mean that I need to bring the band back a bit more so that there's more space for the king, so you can actually hear him, because that is the aim for the audience, for their perspective. They just want to hear the cast, and so that is my aim, is to still give you some music, but it means that I just have to make a bit more room and like small adjustments. Yeah.
The focus that you must have is, I can't fathom the amount that you have to hold in memory and know and do, and then the speed of those reactions.
Yeah.
I think Oren had sent me
impressive.
an article about the sound team at Hamilton, and somebody was saying they'd actually had to go off after the first couple of numbers on their first night on it because it was just so intense.
Yeah. I mean, the way we learn the show as well is like, it's so different to how a cast would learn a show, for example. So usually you have, for us anyway, we have 6 weeks of rehearsals, and then you have some time on stage, and then you have more rehearsals, and then you have tech, and then you have a dress, and then you have your first show. For us, when you're mixing a show, we'll come in at 10 a.m, finish at 4:30. And so between that time, you've learned a chunk of the show, which you will then put in the live show.
Right.
And so you're kind of chipping away at the show until the end.
Is that you're working with somebody that knows the other parts that you don't know? So you do the bits that you do.
I would teach them. So it is terrifying.
Yeah, that's really intense.
Yeah. Because it's kind of, I guess, whenever I'm trying to explain it to an actor friend, I'm like, it's like you, on your first day of rehearsals, learning a couple of songs and them going, you just do that bit for tonight and then I'll take over. Terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So that begs the question, do you experience performance anxiety?
Yes. During the learning process, yes. It's funny because when I was learning this show in particular, I remember being terrified because I just thought, oh my gosh, I'm out of my depth. I'm sweating so much and I can't stop myself. It's like literally dripping. Oh, I'm sorry. Dripping. I just can't stop shaking. I can't focus. But you kind of like find your rhythm. And now I'm not sweaty anymore and I'm not shaky and I'm not anxious. But I think it's fair and safe to say that you would anyway during the learning process because you have 6 hours to learn a show and you have to get it right as well. Yeah. Because if you don't, that might mess things up for people on stage. It will mess things up for people that have paid to come and see the show. And it has to kind of be seamless, which is a massive ask.
Clearly your role allows for quite a lot of creativity in terms of being in the moment and crafting what we're hearing. There's a sort of next rung up to that creativity, which is sound design. Is that fair to say?
It's different in theatre.
Different perspective.
Yeah, because the show, the design of the show has happened already. I've just been given the template of how to. It's almost like the ingredients have already been picked out, and they've made the cake, and now they're just like, just share the cake. I'm going to just keep giving you cake and you share pieces of the cake. If that makes sense.
It's a lovely analogy. Anything about cake. I'm very happy about it. So what's the difference in the two jobs? What might a sound designer be doing?
So for us, I mean, we have 3 sound designers actually. We have Nevin and Jason, who are our American team, and then we have Kelsh, who's our UK sound designer. And they basically design the sound of the show. They design where they want the speakers to go, how that's going to work. There's some maths and science in it. It's quite impeccable actually. And yeah, how the sound is basically going to bounce around the auditorium and the theatre. And so that kind of happens during tech. So that would have happened like when the show opened. Right. And they come down once a year to kind of make sure that the show is still in good condition, and they might do some tweaks here and there and, you know, do a walk around the theatre and kind of make sure that it's still what their vision of your experience is still the same. And it changes so much as well for them because they've got, you know, Hamilton tours around the whole of the US, and now we've got the Hamilton tour here. And so it forever changes in how they want that to sound, which is also really fun to be around. So yeah, that would have been done years and years and years and years ago.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
Working with performers who are on tours and going, because I tend to go and visit them in each place they go to. And from their perspective, the difference in what they're getting and what they feel they can give from one place to the other. And I can feel it because I go see them before I coach them. And I can see a whole company who are struggling or having a brilliant time or in fact need just taking back a little bit because it's just all too much fun. You know, it's got too far. And we're pushing some vocal boundaries, you know.
Stop enjoying this experience.
Or stop feeling invincible. I think it's really my message a lot of the time. But really fascinating how that relationship then changes from theatre to theatre. Have you done any touring productions?
I haven't done a full tour. I've depped on tours, which to be honest is more than enough for me. I'm a homebody. I don't really like the moving around too much for work anyway, I don't think. So I've had a small understanding of how that how it can feel very different in different theatres. And it's actually quite cool to see things from from a singer's or an actor's perspective, when an actor says, I can't hear anything, and I just think, well, you can, because the show is really loud. So what do you mean? For me, it's really important to have that conversation and really bore them with sound stuff, so that they understand what we're trying to do, but also try and understand what they're struggling with as well, because that, those things are real, and how we can kind of adjust and work together. I think it's really important, and it does change in every venue. Depending on the size. It also depends on the temperature. It depends on the amount of people in the auditorium. There can be so many different reasons as to why someone is struggling or someone's having the best time.
I didn't even consider the fact that the amount of people in the room is fundamentally going to change how the sound travels around that room as well.
Yeah, you really feel that as well.
That's wild.
Yeah. You really feel the difference between a room. Again, the only way I can really describe it is like if it's like a room full of people, the space feels quite warm and comfy and fluffy. And if it's sparse or it's just a cold auditorium, it feels very cold. It feels very sharp. It feels very direct.
Yeah.
And so your experience is always going to be so different.
And are there things that you can do to account for that? Because like with, for instance, a video, you can change the color temperature.
Yeah.
Is there a way to almost change the temperature of the sound to try and accommodate?
I don't know. I think when I'm mixing, there is only so much you can do, but you're kind of rolling with the punches, like if you can have the same players in the pit one day and it's really warm, and the same players the next day and it's really cold, it might mean that the bass is hitting a bit harder than it was the night before, and so you can bring the bass back a little bit. Or if it's really cold, maybe you do need a bit more bass to kind of give it a bit more warmth and a bit more fluffy, juicy.
Fluffy, juicy stuff.
Fluffy, juicy, lovely stuff. Some shoulders. Yeah, so you're kind of rolling with the punches. You're kind of going, what am I missing here, or what is too much? Is the question the whole time.
You mentioned before as well giving notes to performers. Is that more of a conversation of this is what this sounded like today? Yeah. Like what does that mean, giving notes to
I think I kind context? It is definitely strategic. I'm not one to kind of just go, you've done that thing wrong, stop doing it the first time. I wait like 3 or 4 times and I go, okay, I think you're doing this thing wrong, or this might not be right. So it might be that someone's singing the wrong harmony and they don't know.
Right.
And so it's kind of doing that kind of stuff, or, stop messing around because your mic is live. It is real. What you have on your face is real. Right. So be quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just stuff like that. And just, again, it is that like conversation of them understanding what we do and vice versa. And so you'll have conversations like, give us a second before you go off stage and start a conversation.
Right.
Because it might take me a second to take your microphones out because I have to take the band out first or something like that. And so I do kind of get blank faces sometimes, and they're like, okay, cool, I don't understand what you just said. And I go, come to the sound desk with me, I'll show you exactly what I mean. Yeah.
That's really interesting, actually, because I forgot, like, you hear everything.
Everything. It's a blessing and also a curse, because I hear everything. And so if I say to someone, I know you were messing around, they go, who, me? And I go, I know it's you. Trust me, I know it's you.
I know what person, I know what microphone.
I know the sound of your voice. Yeah. I think it's definitely a blessing and a curse, but
ultimately it's for the benefit of the production, right? You don't want somebody going off and their mic not having the chance for you to get their mic down before other things happen. Exactly. Like, I totally get it. It's again another component that I think a lot of people don't actually consider. That on a desk of what, 30 faders, how many fingers do you like? There's only so much that you can do in quick succession.
So
that's so interesting.
It is very important for us all to kind of know what we're all doing, so that it works and it's like a clean a clean show, especially with the show that we do.
What you're describing is a really intense job, a job that just requires absolute focus in the moment for a prolonged period of time.
Yes.
I have a couple of questions around that.
Yeah, go on.
How do you deal with having an off day?
I'm still working on it, I think. Because if I'm completely honest, when I mix now, I struggle with focus. Because for me, once I start mixing, I'm so hyper-focused on everything. And so that could also mean that I'm hyper-focused on other things that's happening outside of work. And so to try and find a way to stay in the moment, I think I'm still working on that. But what I'm very mindful about is what I do in the morning and what I do before a mix and what I do after a mix. And that's because I think that, especially in musical theatre, we all have to work at a level of anxiety to make it good, which is a bit messed up. Because we all have to be a little bit like not okay to do a really, really good job. But it means that once it's done, you have to find a way to kind of hug yourself and kind of take care of yourself in a really safe way. And so the way I do that is with therapy, and it is with music, and it is with journaling. That really, really helps. And just taking like specific time out for myself. So those are the things that I'm doing at the moment, but I'm still working on it because it is really intense.
Do you take any part in discussing that with the rest of your team and making sure that they're looking after themselves as well?
For sure. And I think that's another way that I personally think that I kind of operate slightly differently to any experience that I've had, is that I am so... it's so important for me to know that my team are well before we do anything else. And so they know that, the moment they walk through the doors, if they're not having a good day for whatever reason, that there's a safe space to tell me that. And so, and that's fine. I'm not going to make anyone mix a show if they're not okay or if they can't do it, because if you can't, then you can't. And so, yeah, it is really important that my team know that they have a very safe space to talk about exactly how they feel and tell me what they want or what they don't want. And in the past, it has been difficult for me to kind of know where the boundaries are for that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because at the end of the day, we are still at work.
Yeah. And
so it has been difficult for me to kind of know like where to put those boundaries. But I think I'm getting it now, which is that this is definitely still a safe place. You have to always say when you're not okay and always say when you are okay. And then I go, I'm here for you, and that's it. As opposed to I'm here for you. What do you need? Shall I take you home? I'll buy you things, and just go insane with like just trying to make it better.
Yeah.
It's to go, I'm here. And that's it. Yeah. Because I learned that I had to do that for myself as well. So that is another way that I'm taking care of myself.
We'll get back to the episode in just a minute, but I just wanted to quickly say that 75% of you are not subscribed to this channel. So if you could, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and ding the bell for notifications so you never miss an episode in the future.
Are you consciously running your department in a slightly different way? It sounds like you've been in other environments that didn't run that way.
Yes and no. Luckily, I've worked with some really amazing people, and you pick what works for you, and you kind of then have confidence in how you want to run a department. And so, yes, it is conscious, but also where I think sometimes I do struggle with confidence and anxiety, and I always get to a point where I go, Alice, just do you, and that will be fine. And if it isn't, then someone hopefully will say. And so far, I think that with picking the bits that have really worked with for me from my other HODs and just being me, I think has really, it is different. It is different. And they always say that. I'm really silly. I'm so stupid. And I just like, and I don't lord my title over them. I get emotional when my team do a really good mix. I praise them a lot, but then I am really just like, you need to be better at this also. So it is just a mixture of everything, as opposed to just coming in and kind of just doing the job and then kind of just going home. I think there's more to it than just that.
You have shared with us that you took some time out this year for your own health. How is that managing a major health concern with work?
Yeah, it was definitely a journey. I was really nervous about going through that journey and saying out loud that I might need a few months off to do it, to remove my fibroids. And I think that there was at the time some imposter syndrome, because I just thought they're gonna think that I'm not serious. Yeah, and that and I'm neglecting work and I'm neglecting my team. And so it was really hard for me to kind of like push through and take time off and to settle and heal. It took me such a long time to just stop, even though I couldn't move. I was still like trying. And then coming back was also really, really scary. But I think I will pat myself on the back, because I created a safe space. It did mean that when I came back and I wasn't fully okay, that it was okay for me as an HOD to say to my team, I can't move right now, or I'm in too much pain. Can you do this thing for me? And know that there wasn't any judgment and it was just support.
Do you think, you talk about the worry about, they won't think I'm serious. Did that come from the fact that that is a women's health issue? What made you worry about that?
I think it was imposter syndrome. I think it was because this role is my first role, which is terrifying because it's my first role in the biggest show in the world. And I'm a perfectionist. And so to kind of like derail and not be good at my job was really hard for me to kind of let go of. And so I think then that's where you kind of, the spiral kind of starts, because then you go, okay, well, you're not good enough and you can't do the thing. And now you have to leave, and now they're not going to take you seriously anyway, and blah, 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 blah. And then kind of like, goes from there. And you justify it because you have to be good.
Did that mean that you put off having surgery, or
no?
Did you just have to face it?
I had to, because it was causing me issues, and now when I look back, was affecting my work. So I had to, and thankfully I had strong people around me to go, no, Alice, stop. You will do this thing. Yeah, those things were happening in my mind, but I had to do it. Yeah, because it was affecting my work.
And was it well met at work?
Yeah, everyone was fine. and the show went on, and my team were fine, and it was all fine.
Because there's no reason why it wouldn't be fine, right?
Absolutely.
You've built a stable environment, and I totally get it, because I've been in exactly the same position as you, and having the trust that things will be fine without you is so hard.
Yeah.
It
is the trust, isn't it? Yeah.
And but as soon as you get to that point of, it will be okay.
Yeah.
That's when you do the best healing for yourself.
I agree.
I've been there, man.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, especially like when you have so many responsibilities, you care too much. And I never really understood that for a long time, to like not care, but not care in a very healthy way. And it is about boundaries, which is a very new concept for me. So, to know that it's going to be fine and there isn't anyone to go to judge you. And even if they do, that's really not your problem. It's something that I'm learning from this role. I've learned so much from this role.
I think I said this a few weeks ago as well. There's a fantastic quote, and I'm quoting Darren Brown because that's where I heard it, but I don't know if this is his original quote. And it is, worry not what other people think of you when you realize how seldom they do. And it's, we are the only people that think that other people are thinking about us more than they actually are. And
literally,
it's like,
no one cares.
Literally.
No one cares.
It's really bad to say. Literally no one cares.
Literally no one cares. Yeah.
Which I think is so freeing in a way.
Is, yeah.
It was one of the biggest things, at least for my confidence, that I'm like, do you know what? Yeah, I don't care what they think because they're going to forget about this by tomorrow or in an hour's time.
Yeah.
I think you have other strings to your bow as well as being this incredible head of department at one of the major musicals in the world. You do some DJing as well?
Yes.
That's exciting.
That's really exciting.
So fun.
Yeah.
And it's funny when you asked about performance anxiety because it's crazy that I DJ because I really do like making noise in the dark. That's where I'm so good there. Because I'm behind the audience and to the whole time you're manipulating the sound and they don't, all the emotions, blah, blah, blah. And most of them have no idea why. It's just happening. But when you DJ, the audience go, you make me have a good time. You're the reason why I'm either going to have a good time or a bad time. Yeah. It's terrifying. But DJing makes me so happy. It's so fun to share the love of music and to receive the energy from the crowd in a completely different way. Yeah. It's so much fun.
How did it happen? How did you end up doing it?
I decided one day that I wanted to be a DJ.
As you do.
Yeah.
Just wake up.
Yeah, which happens. I love doing so many things and I never ever stick to anything. But yes, I decided that I wanted to be a DJ. At the time, I was at Motown and I mentioned it to a friend. That it was a thought I was having. And he then told me that I would be DJing at the end of contract party. And he made a poster and he put my name on it and he told everyone. And I was like,
oh, wow.
Okay, well, I don't know what it means to be a DJ. So I think I had some weeks to get some decks. My partner's dad taught me how to DJ, to understand what it meant to put music together. And I did an hour and a half DJ set at our party. And that was it. Then it happened very quickly with all the places and gigs that I did happened very quickly. And I think it is because of the people that I know in the industry and just kind of mentioning this thing. And then that person going, oh, so you can just do this then. And I mean, Claire knows this, that I think when I turned 30, I decided to face my fears. And so even now, whenever someone goes, oh, you're a DJ, you can do this thing, I just go, yes, I can. YouTube.
Praise be to YouTube.
But yeah, I've been DJing now for 5 or 6 years. And I do it when I can because, theatre's 6 days a week. So
fair.
Yeah, but it is so much fun.
How much crossover is there? Because it feels like, I mean, obviously the audience are now facing, I suppose, the other way.
Yeah.
And instead of, because in my mind, I was like, in the theatre, I guess you're the interface between the performers and the band and the audience. Whereas now with DJing, it's you and the audience.
Yeah.
There's no other piece in the middle.
Yeah.
But is there any similarity? Is there any crossover?
Yes, there is. I think the difference is there is in that you are manipulating their emotions still. And you're doing that through how you want to present the music. That's what it is. Because, you know, Rihanna, Beyonce, they've already made the hit and you're pressing play, but you have different skills and different transitions and different songs that you can incorporate in creating like new excitement for the songs that people already know. And so I guess that's the closest similarities, that for a lot of people, they understand music, they know music, but it's how you're going to play it and how you're going to show it and how you're going to create excitement around it is I think the similarity. But and in terms of like the physical, I have 12 faders, more than 12 faders in front of me and things and knobs and people and all the things when I'm engineering. And when I'm DJing, I have 2 faders.
Right.
Yeah. So it's in terms of like the movement, there isn't loads to think about in that way. Yeah. It comes with its own challenges because you have to understand counting and beat matching and keys and also reading the crowd, because you can play all of this fun music and no one's dancing or people are leaving the dance floor, and again you're having to react very quickly and go, oh okay, I need to change the vibe quickly. Terrifying but fun. I just do these scary things all the time.
And again, it's like it seems like your background in music is really fed through to like everything that you're doing. I didn't realize that there was so much to DJing.
Yeah.
And I don't think many people do, actually.
No.
But actually, now that you're saying that you've got to match keys and you've got to match rhythms and beats and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, actually, having a foundation of music is really bloody useful.
It's really useful. And people really don't know what it means to DJ. I really didn't know. I thought it was just about playing music, and it really, really isn't. It is like, it's a skill that I'm still learning, and it's like, it's really, really interesting. And as well, people don't know that what in your headphones, you're listening to a completely different song to what's happening out there, because you're trying to work out what song could go well with the song that's happening right now. And how do you want to drop that in? And how do you want to introduce it?
That's making my brain hurt just thinking about it.
Yeah.
That's an incredible skill.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So the next time you see a DJ playing and they're like jamming, they're not jamming to what they're hearing.
Now I feel so sorry for the people that you got something in this ear and then somebody's trying to talk to you and you're like, you've got to listen to this, you've got to do and you've got wow.
Yeah.
That's equally as intense.
Yeah, but again, it's fun because you're kind of having your own personal party.
Yeah.
and it's quite fun to go, oh, they don't know what I'm about to do right now. Yeah. And then you go, oh, they love that. Or, oh no, they didn't get that. Oh no, I need to change that quickly. This is a different party. We're having a different experience right now.
But I love that what the 2 jobs and the way you approach them are linked by is your extraordinary emotional intelligence. That seems to me to be the thread through all of this. And you and I met because you wanted to work on speaking in public, one of your fears.
Yes,
right?
Massive fear.
And it's making me think now, do you think that part of that is that you are in front of too many people at once when you have to speak? You cannot react to all of them individually in the way that you can when you're mixing, or you can if you're one-to-one.
Yeah, that is an interesting question. Maybe. I think that with music and with operating and being able to manipulate music in the ways that you can, they I guess they're speaking for me. They're able to articulate what I'm trying to say better than I can.
Well, you are articulating it that way. You are still able to. It's just that
in a different way. Yeah,
that's the language and the vehicle
I've never
of it.
thought of it that way, but it makes so much sense that's probably it.
I mean, I partly say that in a very self-reflective way, in that when I lead company warm-ups, I struggle. I struggle with that. Overall, I like to do them and I think they're important and, I'm very happy to do them. But I don't enjoy them in the way that I do one-to-one coaching. And I've come to realise that is because there's too many people in front of me and I can't react appropriately to every one of them. And then it's uncomfortable. So, it just suddenly occurred to me, maybe that's...
In you saying that, actually, I was thinking that front of house mixing, DJing, it kind of does play on not worrying, but reacting to things. And so I think that that's really ingrained in me anyway. And so whenever I'm talking to anyone, I'm like waiting to react to something. And so if it is a big room of people, that it is too many people to kind of go, do they get what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Do they like it? Do I need to change something? And
exactly.
Yeah, because that's where I am is what do I need to change to make this thing better? As opposed to, this is the thing that I'm saying and you like it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And that's why I came to you, because I love listening to people speak and how they can make you feel something or understand something or want to do something about something. I've always wanted to have that skill. And so that's why I came to you.
Well, I got to say, you have just been speaking very fluently and with great feeling.
Okay, well,
for an hour and 3 minutes currently.
Well, I think it was thanks to you, to be honest. She had me singing.
Yeah.
Very
nice. What did you sing?
Sarah Vaughan, You're Mean to Me. Mean to me, yeah. Yeah.
And we're not done yet, are we? We're going to meet some more goals soon. Alice is facing more fears.
Yeah,
I'm so proud of you. I think it's such an amazing challenge you've set yourself. And I just think that's something we can all take inspiration from.
Yeah. I don't want to be limited by my fears. So we'll see. We'll
Amazing.
see what happens.
Really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alice, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. We're not quite done with you yet.
Okay.
Because we have 2 more things for you.
Okay, cool.
One is to ask you, what do you do at the 5-minute call?
At the 5-minute call, what am I doing? It really depends. I'm either spending way too much time in someone's dressing room talking about stuff when they should be getting ready, or I'm having a quiet moment. If it's before mixing, I just need a moment of quietness. And then I spray some perfume, have some Listerine, use the toilet, and then I'm ready to go. That's what I do.
It's like a full sensory routine.
Yeah.
I think it's that whole thing of like being focused, and it is a sensory thing. I have to like spray perfume and I have to feel like I'm getting ready to do something, as opposed to like kind of just making my way there. My focus will be so different. So I kind of need to make it a thing.
Absolutely fascinating.
First of all, the amount of people that have said that they take a quiet moment is like the number of people that have said that is a lot.
Really?
And I
get it.
I get it. In such a world where everything is going so quickly and it's noisy all the time, and then you've got to go and be noisy for another 2.5 hours.
Exactly.
Just taking that to just to be and to exist, I think is so it's really interesting that loads of people have sort of have that similar thought. That there's something here that could be expanded upon.
For sure. I think it's just important. I think it's just because before the show has started, so much has happened beforehand.
Yeah.
And if we're talking sound specifically, it could range from just doing sound check, and then something's broken, and now you're running around doing all of these things, and then there's a meeting, and then you have to do this, and then I've done the rota and blah, blah, blah. Your brain is just scattered. You just have to have a moment to go, okay, now we're going to go and do this thing. And I really need that because then I'm just all over the place. Yeah.
So we ask every guest to write a question for the next guest. And it goes completely unseen until this very moment where we will read you the question.
Okay.
And then you're going to write one of your own.
Okay, cool.
Which performer has inspired you most and why?
Whoa. That's it. It's really hard to pick one person.
You also don't have to name them.
Can I say that there are, I'm lucky to know a few for many reasons, and it's their focus and dedication to what they love. And also to see them embody a role and want to tell a story in a way that like kind of eradicates themselves completely is really inspiring for me, because in that moment they are so powerful and so confident. And I always look to them when I'm trying to be that way, to perform. And so I have a few people in my life that do that, and they are impeccable and so talented. So yeah, I don't know if that answers the question, but that's my answer.
Yeah, I think with a lot of these questions, it's like the answer that you give might not necessarily have to be fully related to what's written here.
Yeah.
But the answer that you give is equally as powerful in it.
Absolutely.
Itself. And I think that what you just said is so. I mean, we'll be here another hour if we want to go into that.
Yeah.
I think
have
it's a
some really
fantastic
cool
answer.
people in my life that are doing really amazing things, and also the persona or the person that they present to people are who they are, but in knowing them, to know that they have such a vulnerable side is also really powerful. To then see what they can do on the stage is just like blows my mind every time.
And I would say, that makes me think of you in the midst of that company and what they would say about you.
That's nuts.
And that they might say exactly the same thing.
Wow. That's insane.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Alice, thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been amazing. This is cool.
It is not in any way wanky saying that you feel it. I think we have a society that is based on can we see it, can we measure it, and the fact that you so clearly use all your knowledge and your skills and then filter them through what you feel is just a thing of beauty. And that you are leading a team from that position is
wow, thanks.
Beautiful. You're awesome.
I 100% agree. And I know you didn't do it with the intention of me inserting that, but I can 100% put what you just said in the relevant part of the video. Next time on the 5-Minute Call.
And he was like, "What are you doing, Lily? I just need more time to feel that I'm ready. I'm not from here. I have so much to learn."
In this episode, we're talking to Lily Cahoas.
Lily has studied in France, the UK, and internationally, learning and evolving as a singer.
She's most recently played pivotal roles such as Cosette in Les Miserables and Christine in Phantom of the Opera.
I've always known that I had a voice. I knew how hard it was, so I was a bit afraid to take the step. And then right before I go on stage for Queenie, our company manager in school was like, "They offered you the concert version of Les Mis." And now it was the first time that I really felt that I was fighting for it. It was an incredible feeling to feel like you're fighting for something you want and you're not giving up.
Is there anything else in between?
We really hope you enjoyed this episode of the 5-Minute Call. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and ring the bell for notifications. Your support really helps us bring you more amazing stories.
If you are or have been affected by any of the topics discussed in today's episode, please see the show notes below for some helpful resources.